With less than 20 days before we are deeply involved in the midterms, the question has to be asked. Are we dealing with a red wave? Is a red wave what we're on the cusp of? Or are folks like Michael Moore, liberal commentator Michael Moore, suggesting a blue wave, suggesting that folks are lying to the pollsters and not being honest? Is it possible we could see a blue wave? Now, that's part of what we're going to be discussing. However, I want to talk to the folks. The question I want to present to you today is, why are you voting? Not because it's your civic duty. We understand that. But what issues concern you most? Immigration, the border, crime, inflation, gas price. What issues are you voting on most? Now, some might even argue the resurrection of Trump in 2024, the reduction of democracy in this country, or whatever the case may be. Make no mistake about it, this is a MAGA-friendly program, so regardless of what your take is on this, I encourage both sides to be vocal about their points. I don't ban, I don't block, I don't censor, but I'm really concerned. What are your primary issues as to why you're voting? And by the way, whether you're on the right side of the aisle or the left side of the aisle, are there candidates that you believe should be voted down, prevented from being in office at all costs? Are there politicians seeking office or seeking re-election that you believe just simply may be an out-and-out danger to this country? Whether they're a danger to the economy, a danger to national security, a danger to democracy, etc., etc. Are there folks who are running right now that you believe are just harmful to this nation? In the comments, I see I'm not even going to pronounce that, but says Marjorie Taylor Greene gots to go. I don't know. Her race in Georgia, I believe she's pretty much a shoe in the win, but maybe I'm wrong. Is Marjorie Taylor Greene facing any decent amount of competition? But that's what we're asking. In regards to folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene, obviously Herschel Walker is pretty controversial right now. There are people up in Minnesota who may not like Ilhan Omar. I mean, this is on both sides, but give me your version of politicians that you believe are just an outright danger to this country. Going straight to the box. Go hard in the paint. Welcome back. Good. Going hard in the paint. What issues are concerning you the most when you're casting your ballot in 18 days or so? What issues concern you the most going into the midterm?
The most is getting rid of MAGA. That's what concerns me the most because I see democracy changing. You know,
How so?
Mar-
Elaborate on it. If Trump were to be reelected in 2024, give me your examples of how you believe democracy would be changed.
well, number one, if you said Trump, right?
You
If
said
Trump,
MAGA.
yeah, well, MAGA,
Obviously, Trump is obviously the leader of MAGA. But even in regards to the midterm, you have MAGA candidates running. Are there any
well,
of
there'll
you
be no more
concerned?
MAGA. There'll be no more MAGA after Trump comes in. He's not gonna need them anymore. He's not gonna need them anymore at all. So I
I
mean,
don't get what you mean.
he won't need MAGA anymore. He can't get reelected. You understand what I'm saying? So he won't need
Right.
MAGA anymore. All he can do is just destroy and to try to get things done any way he wants. He needs nobody because he's not gonna get reelected. He doesn't have to get reelected again. Um, the other thing is like Marty Taylor Greene. I watched the debate. She says she was a victim of January 6th. But
Okay.
she led the big lie. Then you got Senator Johnson over in Wisconsin. The fake electors came out of his office. You know, they came out of his
Yeah,
office. You
it's funny.
know,
But in regards to you suggesting that if Trump wins, he will not need MAGA anymore, you're suggesting that if he wins, he's going to alienate himself from his own
no, he doesn't need any supporters anymore. Think about it. He needs no supporters anymore. He can't. What do you need support for? He can't run. Can't run again.
Yeah,
He doesn't
but,
need. He doesn't need to think about it. Think about it, Hanson. Think about it. He doesn't need them anymore. He
yeah,
can't run again.
so are you telling me that Trump only cares about himself as opposed to his
Ah,
supporters?
come on, man. You didn't say that, did you? Trump only cares about himself. You didn't say that, did you?
I,
listen,
I, I,
listen, listen.
yeah.
And also about last night, let me give you a little apology. I didn't mean that your lie was a joke. I was. It
No,
was. It just seemed to
I
be
got
like
you. I got
people were
you.
taking
No,
it as a joke.
yeah.
Not being so not you don't have to be serious all the time. But you
There-
got to come with something a little bit. But yeah, those things right there, because I watched most of the debates, and the lying on video, the lying on audio, the lying that some of your Mac come on, they know it's live and they still it's acceptable. Those things right there,
I like to
those
let you
things
know,
there.
but that is my motto on the program: is I don't bend, I don't block, I don't censor.
Uh,
I like to let the people speak. MAGA's always
uh.
welcome, but if they're saying something that I disagree with,
Okay,
I'm
not
gonna let.
the
I'll challenge
uh,
them, but I'll let them speak.
yeah, not the MAGA line. The senators, them lying on audio and video,
Right.
and the people who still accepted it. Like you have Lindsey Graham. He lied. He's on audio saying the next time a Supreme Court justice comes up, I promise you we'll have the vote. You recall that? You
No.
got
Yeah.
same thing with McConnell. You got Donald Trump on audio with Bob Woodward about the pandemic. Yeah, I didn't tell them about it because I didn't want to scare nobody. I knew about it. You have these things on audio, and you have
Okay.
smart listeners.
I get your point about lying on audio, but what about the notion that what the Democrats are offering is so horrible that there are some MAGA and some Republicans that would still rather deal with a liar as opposed to, woke culture, cancel culture, and things like that? Can you see any issue in that?
No, they're offering voter rights for everybody. They're offering lowering pharmaceuticals, which Republicans keep voting against. Those are the things they're offering.
What
They're,
about
they're,
what
they're
about
trying to get they're trying to
uh,
get Roe versus Wade back.
well, but what about the idea that Democrats are offering sexuality in elementary schools to kids
They
that
haven't
don't need
ordered
to?
that. They haven't offered that.
Just asking. What about the notion that Democrats are potentially offering late-term abortions? How? I mean, because
They,
this is what they're saying.
they
How do
haven't
you
offered that
respond?
either. They've offered none of that. They
Okay.
offered none of that. This is the rhetoric that's out there. They've offered none of that.
What about defund the police?
They haven't offered that either.
Okay. All right.
They haven't offered that. That's not on board. Now they want to move the funds.
What-
They want to move the
oh,
funds to the police.
okay, no bail. I got to move it on shortly, but what
Yeah,
about
yeah.
no bail? Allowing criminals charged with violent crimes to get out without a bail. What about that?
I don't think it was criminals charged with violent crimes though. How
Yeah,
about
and
how about
that,
how about
that was it
how
is.
how about that to answer your point about that there, the thing with down in Florida with the registered voters, the registered the former felons that registered,
Mhm.
and then DeSantis jailed them, and they can't get out of jail because they got to either pay a $500 bill or $1,000 bill, and they can't afford
Well,
that.
I don't
That's when the
disagree
no
with you.
bail.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what you're talking about, but that doesn't answer the question in regards to how many folks who have been charged with violent crimes are now going to be getting out. And that's in addition to folks that are suggesting that shoplifters all over the West Coast are, being let out, not really being charged. A lot of crimes, the police can't do anything. I mean, they're blaming high crime on Democrats.
Okay, let me give you this here then. Since you said that there, I'm getting
Okay.
older every day. I'm getting older every day. I'm not aware of the violent crimes with no bail, so I'm gonna have to go back and look on that there. All right,
All
so
right.
I'm not gonna say anything something I don't know about.
All
And
right.
thank you
Thanks
very
for.
much.
Hey, good talk. You're always welcome back.
Yeah,
Go
have a
hard
good
in the
day.
paint. You too. Always go hard in the paint. I like it. like it. And my Bulls beat the Miami Heat last night. They went hard in the paint. Looking in the comments. By the way, folks, follow the channel. I appreciate you guys who are new here for the first time. Make no mistake about it, despite the name, this is a MAGA-friendly program. I get MAGA on the box all the time. I don't ban. I don't block. I do not censor. The fact that you disagree with the host doesn't mean a damn thing. Give you plenty of time to state your point. Okay, we're going right back to the box. We're going to be dealing with Handsome Harris. Is that who I think it is? Longtime friend of the program. Haven't talked in a while. He's definitely MAGA. Handsome, where the hell have you been? Welcome back.
I have been dealing with a lot, and I usually get into your program too late. You got too many people in the box, so you usually don't get to me. I'm just curious if you've read the, well, actually, first things first, I want to talk about Go Hard in the Paint. Sir, if you go to GOP on the GOP channel on YouTube, they actually have a 7-minute compilation of nothing but Democrats shouting at press conferences, defund the police. So don't lie about that, sir.
Oh, wait. When you say Democrats shouting at press conferences, are these Democratic politicians?
These are Democratic politicians. These are Democratic politicians offering policies and potential bills that would actually defund the police.
Fair enough. What about defund the FBI? How do you feel about that? Defund the FBI.
Well, the FBI wasn't a constitutional process, so no.
What do you mean?
It was created by executive order. Therefore, I don't think the FBI should exist.
So, if someone were to kidnap your child and cross state lines, who would pursue the kidnapper to get your kid back?
The police agencies that are involved. The police agency from where they were kidnapped, and they would work on where they were. And then once they found out where they were, then the police agency there would also coordinate with police agencies that are involved. I mean, this happens all the time without the FBI. You understand that, right?
No, not really. If you're crossing state lines, a Nashville police officer can't enter Alabama and start conducting business.
Yes, they can.
No, they cannot.
Yes, they can.
No,
yes, they can. They do it all the time. I have police officers here in my town that go into California for pursuits or for investigations all the time. I have CHP that come over into my town all the time on a daily basis. This whole notion that police officers cannot cross state lines is completely false. They can cross state lines.
Okay, that's something that we'll have to agree to disagree, because if I'm in Los Angeles and a Chicago police officer in a Chicago police officer uniform pulls me over and starts asking questions, you're telling me I have to adhere to his request?
No. See, you're completely conflating the situation. Now you're going way out into left field. What I'm saying is, if it involves a pursuit, or if it involves a crime that a detective is investigating, a detective can actually go across state lines within a certain amount of time from their jurisdiction. Now, if it is a certain time, if it is a certain distance, whatever their state policies are, if it is a certain distance away from their jurisdiction, they can actually just be on the phone and coordinate with those police departments. They don't need the FBI to be involved. This actually happens quite a bit, that the FBI does not get involved. It is only if the department is out of their realm or out of their scope of practice that the FBI actually comes in to assist. They don't automatically get involved in every single interstate kidnapping case.
Okay.
This is a common misnomer.
Well, so I'm assuming you feel the same way about counterfeit bills, bank robberies, pawn shop robberies, financial institutions. All of that's handled by the FBI too. You're saying that the local police deal with all.
Counterfeit is actually handled by Secret Service.
That's a federal institution, though.
That's the Secret Service, though. That's different.
Okay. All right. Well, I will tell you this, because if what you're saying is true, which looks like the entire audience disagrees with about the police, then you're teaching me something, because I've never heard that a police officer could just cross state lines if he's working on a case, as you say, within a certain time frame, and have jurisdiction and continue working on it from there. I've never heard that. But give me your next issue.
Okay. So have you read the January 6th report from the January 6th committee?
I've watched the hearings on television. I have not read the report. What am I missing?
The report is very interesting. If you look on pages 26, 27, and 28, you will find some very, very crucial information, which is actually contradictory to what they say in the media.
Elaborate.
And I can read you one quick page.
Sure.
So it says, according to a senior Capitol Police official, the Section 1974 authority was used on January 6th to obtain assistance from the D.C. National Guard, which arrived to support the Capitol Police shortly before 6 p.m. Recognizing the deteriorating situation at the Capitol, the chief of the Capitol Police, according to the Capitol Police's timeline, verbally asked the Senate or House Sergeants at Arms 9 times between 12:58 p.m. and 2:03 p.m. to make the Section 1974 determination of an emergency. According to written testimony statements of both the Chief of the Capitol Police and the House Sergeant at Arms, in response to the Chief's request, the House Sergeant at Arms took the step of consulting with congressional leadership prior to determining an emergency. The testimony statements do not indicate if the Sergeant at Arms was seeking approval from congressional leadership to make a determination of an emergency or to approve of appointing outside officers to assist the Capitol Police.
What's the point?
I'm getting to it right here. According to the version of Section 1974 in place on January 6, 2021, such appointments of special officers assisting the Capitol Police were subject to final approval by specified members of Congress, including Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House.
So the point you're trying to make is that it was Nancy Pelosi's job to call in the National Guard.
It was the board of the Capitol Police, which includes congressional leadership, which is the Speaker of the House. They are the ones that determine an emergency and can determine authority to appoint outside officers, which includes up to and including the D.C. National Guard.
Okay. Well,
not
even
the president.
Well, obviously people in the comments disagree, but even if what you're saying is true, what does that take away from Trump having all those people come there and acting violently? Why was the National Guard needed to begin with?
Well, he told Congress on January 2nd in a letter written to Congress, he told them, I suggest that you have 20,000 troops on standby or at the ready at the Capitol, because there is talk of potential violence. Okay. And that is per the January 6th committee. They even included that in the evidence, in the report.
Well, if there's talk of potential violence and the Trump administration knew that, why would they keep promoting those people to show up anyway, knowing that it could potentially get violent and recommending 20,000 agents on standby? Why not cancel that event?
I'm so glad that you brought up that point exactly. Let's go to the Summer of Love. Why didn't any Democrat leadership tell those people not to show up?
You're answering the question.
Everybody has a right to protest, right?
You're answering it. No, it's a difference between having a right to protest and
but they still had a right to be there. Yeah. Now, we're not saying that they had a right to violence, but they still had a constitutional right to assemble and be there, correct?
What about the noose in calling for the death of Mike Pence? Did they have a right to do that as well?
No, of course not.
So why? So how do you feel about Trump speakers and Trump himself talking to a crowd in front of a noose while it was right there in front of them? How do you feel about him continuing to talk to that crowd?
I never saw that in front of Trump on camera. I never saw that then. So okay. I can't speak to that.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Then I'd invite you to rewatch it because
now keep in mind, Trump wasn't at the Capitol.
No. He was in front of the news.
It was an hour and a half. It was an hour and a half walk from where they were to the Capitol.
Okay.
And they had already breached the Capitol before Trump went on stage. Keep that in mind.
What about Rudolph Giuliani saying, let's have trial by combat? What does that mean to you?
It means that Giuliani was probably a little bit crazy. He was firing up the crowd. But again, that was before. That was after they had already breached the Capitol.
No, no, no. When Rudolph Giuliani said let's have trial by combat, the Capitol was not breached yet.
When did he speak? Did he speak before or after Trump?
He spoke before, and Trump followed that bullshit.
Okay. And did Trump agree to it and continue that line
Well,
of conjecture?
I get what you're saying, but here's my take on it. To me, that's being plain semantics. If I am the host, I am the main event of a show, and my opening acts preach violence, such as let's have trial by combat. There's no way the main event is going to say, well, I didn't have nothing to do with all of my opening acts that I invited here. That's what we're trying to separate. As Trump said, go peacefully.
Well, he did separate himself.
Huh?
He did separate himself from that. He said peacefully and patriotically assemble.
Okay. Right after his opening act said, let's have trial by combat.
Right. And then he said peacefully and patriotically assemble. He didn't say go in there and raise hell. He didn't say go in there and beat the shit out of people. He didn't say go in there and tear shit down. He didn't say go down and burn down buildings. He didn't say go in there and tear down the White House fence. He didn't say go over there and destroy a guard shack at the White House. He didn't say any of that.
Right. He just said,
he said peacefully and patriotically assemble.
According to you, he didn't say any of that, but his administration did say, we expect things to get violent, so have 20,000 National Guards members on standby. And you're trying to tell me after all that, Trump should have not been able to predict something may go wrong.
But he already figured something was going to go wrong because he suggested to congressional leadership that they have people on standby. And you know what they did? Instead of having National Guard troops on standby, you know what they did? They put them they scattered them all throughout D.C. for fucking traffic control. That's what they did.
How do you view fight like hell or you won't have a country? What does that mean when you tell the audience that? Fight like hell or you won't have a country.
It means run for office. It means get involved in your local politics.
So that
just because somebody says fight like hell, it doesn't automatically mean that I expect them to go and overthrow a government, right? People on the internet all the time say fight me. That doesn't mean I want them to actually fight me. It just means let's have an argument. Let's have a debate. Let's have a spirited discussion about it, right? It doesn't always mean violence. Like this whole thing of automatically this whole thing of words as violence is complete bullshit.
Okay. Harris, I got to move it on. I want to give you plenty of time. We haven't talked in a while. I do got to move it on. Good to hear from you again. We disagree, obviously, but good to hear from you again, man.
Okay, just keep in mind, 9 times that they asked for congressional leadership to declare an emergency at the Capitol because they're the only ones that have the authority to. And it was not granted until after 2:03 p.m. or 2:30 p.m. that it was granted.
What was Trump supposed to do when Nancy Pelosi was not doing her job, according to you?
He can't do anything when he cannot do anything when it involves the Capitol. He can't even step foot on Capitol grounds without invitation from the speaker. So you understand that, right?
So if Nancy Pelosi didn't do anything, he would just have to sit back and watch the Capitol building be destroyed?
Yes. It is not in Trump's purview. It is not in his constitutional purview. He does not have jurisdiction over the Capitol building.
Okay.
You guys really need to go look this up. I mean, this is beyond ignorant to sit here and still have these conversations because people do not know the Constitution. Go look this up.
All right. I got to go, Harris. All right. Now, getting back in the comments, looking at folks, why didn't he tweet earlier to stop the rioters? And Monty, I agree with that. I'll go right back to the box shortly, but even if the previous caller Harris is correct, which I don't agree with him, but let's say he's correct and Trump had no say-so over sending in military authority, he still could have got on television sooner and pleaded with people to stop, which he did not do. He still could have tweeted out, go home, this is over with. He could have done a hell of a lot more, even if he did not have any power at all to send in the military. There was a huge gap in time in which President Trump didn't usher out a single word, didn't get on television. So let's say the previous caller Harris is correct. Trump couldn't do anything with the National Guard. That doesn't mean you just sit back and disappear for several hours, which is exactly what happened. Exactly what folks are testifying at the January 6th hearings. Exactly why Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Brian Kilmeade were all picking up the phone, pleading with Trump, including his own damn daughter. Do something. He just dropped off the face of the earth. So regardless if he could have called in the military or whatever, he could have gave a speech. He could have got on television. He could have done more than what he actually did. And that is undeniable as far as I'm concerned. Okay, looking back into the box, I had to call, my screen may have paused. Savannah Lynn 9-3. Hey, folks, I appreciate the following. Savannah, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you? I actually don't want to talk about January 6th.
Yep.
Can we skip that over a second? it
We're talking about the midterms, actually, and asking what
okay.
are your primary concerns when you vote in, 18 days?
Yeah.
What's the
I
primary concerns? What is the
I live
reason
in
why you are
Florida.
voting? Crime? Florida, okay. And Marco Rubio?
Marco Rubio's already got a 4-point lead. That I've seen on the newest polls.
Right.
I do tend to lean a little bit more on the right side than I do left. I'm kind of like in the middle. I understand that January 6th should not have gone down the way that it gone down. They wanted to go there and peacefully protest, stand for the rally, whatnot. That's fine, but go on with yourself and go home. No need to go into the Capitol. No need.
How do
Okay, completely agree with that.
you erect a gallows, call for the execution of the vice president, and refer to it as peaceful?
I had no idea that was gonna go down. Like none of us knew, and most of us we totally do not approve of what happened. It wasn't. There's extreme far left, there's extreme far right, and the extreme
True.
far right took it too far. Okay,
Right.
not all of us approve of it.
Let
And
me ask you this question, because a lot of folks are saying Antifa or Black Lives Matter or some other folks agitated. The question I want to ask you is, in regards to the 400, 500, 600 folks that were arrested for their behavior there that day, why is it that none of them are blaming Antifa, but yet they are getting up there in court and saying Trump is the one that encouraged them to come there and do that? Why are they blaming it on the guy they support as opposed to Antifa or Black Lives Matter or someone?
I don't know. I don't know whose fault it was. All I know is it wasn't right to go inside the Capitol. I
Right.
wanted to bring up the point on the CDC bringing up that now it's going to be mandated for you to have your COVID vaccine for you to go to school, kindergarten through 12th grade.
Okay, I'm trying to come up with a way we can, because I'll make it clear I'm MAGA friendly all day on the program, despite the name, and I don't ban, block, or censor comments. However, LGBT issues and COVID, it gets programs taken down fast. So I'm trying to figure
Okay.
out a way we could even discuss that without triggering the damn, because I would let you talk about it all day, ma'am. I would never
Okay,
block
yeah.
or ban you. But the app does not like COVID discussions or LGBT discussions for some damn reason.
And
In
I don't
regards
know why
to
either.
in regards to having to get up, let's just say a measles, mumps, and rubella shot, because what you're talking about is going to obviously be similar to that. How did you feel when you were a child? Did you go to a school where you had to get shots, like I just suggested, measles, mumps, rubella, before going
Yeah,
back
and
to
my
school? How was your
children all have their vaccines too. I have 3 children. Or
Okay.
the injection.
Now, when
I don't know how
you
it
went
is.
to school, I don't know your age, but when you went to school back in the day, did you have to have
I'm
shots
30.
before you attended school in the fall? Okay.
Yes, I did.
Did you
Well,
have
it
to get
depends
shots?
what
Okay,
grade, if you were up to date or whatnot.
right. But what would have happened back then if your parents said, "I don't want my kids to get shots. I just want them to show up to school"?
You just have to sign what is it called? like
Like a
a
waiver of some
exemption
sort?
form. Yeah, an exemption form.
Okay. So if you do not get your measles, mumps, and rubella shots, say coming up in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, do you put any other children at risk? I don't really know how it works. I mean, would other children be at risk if you were potentially roaming around without vaccinations for measles, mumps, rubella, and chickenpox and things like that?
Well, usually back in the 90s when people got chickenpox, most of the time our parents would send us to our next door neighbors so we could have our body immune to that and get chickenpox and get it over with. My mom
Really?
did. She literally sent me to my neighbor's house who had chickenpox so I could get chickenpox and get it over with.
You know you can actually die. It's a small percentage, but you can die from chickenpox. Why would you deliberately give a child chickenpox on purpose?
I
That's
don't know. I was just that I thought that was like normal because our whole neighborhood did it. They're like, "Oh, little Johnny's got chickenpox. Let's send all the kids over there to play with him so they could get chickenpox and get it over with."
that literally sounds like playing in traffic almost. Why would you deliberately infect the kids in the neighborhood? Now, being candid, I'm 50. I have never had chickenpox in my entire life. And I understand that if I get it now, it could be an extreme case. But I've never had it. And I certainly would have been pissed if my mom, may she rest in peace, had sent me to someone else's house so I could deliberately get sick. I don't get why a parent would do that. Is that even legal?
I don't know. Everybody in the comments are agreeing with me though. They're like, yeah, we all did it. like,
Well, it's a difference between doing it accidentally. Like if you go to daycare or something, you're around a lot of kids and illnesses pass back and forth. It's another instance, though, if you know little Johnny has chicken pox and he's in the bed sick and you deliberately send your kids into the bedroom to hang around him with the
yep.
intention, deliberate intention of getting him sick. That sounds like a crime. I have never heard that before.
I have
Wow.
no idea. I guess it must. I don't know. I guess it must just been our community then, because man, I'm like, growing up, that's what we did. Like after I had it, then my brother had it, then my sister had it. Like we all stayed in the same room just so we could all get it from each other, and that was it. Like and get
And
it
I see
over
in the
with.
comments, yeah, I see in the you may be in the majority, I may be in the minority, but there are plenty of folks in the comments that are suggesting that they're what the hell? You can't even cuss at your child now without somebody calling the CDC or what is it? What is it? The child abuse aid. I can't think of the three-letter name for
DCF,
DCFS. Yeah. So
DCF.
and
They
that's just
changed
for
it. It used to be HRS, DCFS, whatever you want to call it now.
yeah. I see some people put CPS, Child Protective Services, but you can barely even swear at your child now. But to give them chicken pox intentionally, that's I mean, because doesn't that leave scars and things like that on the kid? It
Well, if
doesn't.
they itch them.
Well, yeah, it just.
My mom kept mittens on me and gloves on me, so you couldn't itch them.
Oh my God, I've never heard of that, Savannah. That's you teaching me some new shit. But I gotta move it on. Good talk. You definitely opened my eyes up to something I've never, and I'm older than you, and I've never heard of that. So
I'm
appreciate you coming through, though.
30, so I was born in 92, so.
Yeah, I'm 50. I was born 20 years before you, and I have never heard of parents deliberately infecting their kids with chickenpox. So you taught me something
Yeah.
today. I gotta move it on
All
though.
right. Have a good
Absolutely.
day.
Catch you later. All right, looking at comments, and that was new. I've never heard of that before. Wow, deliberately giving your children chickenpox, and I see folks in the comments. Some folks, she's telling the truth. The younger kids get it, the better. Cornstar, I understand it. Literally, with most illnesses, you handle it better at a younger age. Even COVID, children handle it. I mean, because your survival rate is better. But that don't mean you just deliberately infect kids. I've never heard of that. Well, his chances of survival are higher right now, so let's go make them sick. I just learned something. All right, let me go back to the box. Wow, that was crazy. The White Rose. And we're talking about the midterms 18 days from now. What concerns you most? And better yet, White Rose, is there a politician, maybe not even in your area, but someone that you believe should be prevented from being in office, maybe a Congress, senator, or even a governor at all costs, because they are just wrong for America? Do you have any politician out there like that
Oh my
that's
God,
running for office or running for re-election?
there's tons of them. All the extremists that are running for Congress, all of them,
Tons of them.
tons of them.
Give me some examples.
They're denying that. They're denying that. Oh my God, I don't even know where to start with them. I'm like,
You talking about the election deniers?
yeah. I mean, they're all election deniers. They're all Trump supporters. You know, the reason that the GOP wants them to run, and this is just me, is because they know that they can control these people. You know, like Walker. Walker is. I'm sorry to say, this man is dumb. I know that he's a famous football player, but bro, he is like he's like a broomstick in your closet. I mean, he's just. I mean, did you see the debate? I mean, I was like,
Yeah.
my mouth was open during this debate. I was like, what the hell is he
But
talking about?
okay, I have to play devil's advocate in regards to Herschel Walker. Let me ask you this. What about the notion that even though everybody knows Herschel Walker is lying about a host of things, what about the notion that what the Democrats are offering right now, whether it's LGBT in elementary schools or, this is what I'm hearing on the other side, late term abortions, all of this stuff, open borders. What about the notion that what the Democrats is offering is so terrible that folks on the right are suggesting, well, I would still rather vote for a liar than what you guys are selling? How do you respond to that?
Like what? Like what is so terrible that us Democrats are putting together? Like what? Like
Well,
LGBTQ rights, trans rights,
open,
women have their
open,
abortions. What?
I can give you a host of things that they're complaining about, such as the no bail issues, where violent folks charged with violent crimes are being let out without bail. A lot of police departments are letting folks off with petty crimes and misdemeanors, like going into a store and shoplifting, and the police are called, and the cop is like, "We can't do anything about it." You got the rising crime rates. They're blaming this stuff on the Democrats. Now, I understand folks may suggest the Democrats are not responsible, but this is what's being blamed: open borders. Like I mentioned, late term abortions. The point I'm trying to make is with the Democrats being accused of promoting this stuff, there are folks who are saying that I would rather deal with a former football player that lies a little bit than to go that way. How do you respond to that?
Well, if you love democracy, you definitely don't want people who could be controlled. I mean, when it comes down to it, right? This is the way I feel. If we, as liberals, Democrats, progressive people on the left, do not vote in this midterm and in the presidential, we're going to lose this democracy, because the issues, the GOP doesn't have anything to fix anything. Biden comes up with something to fix the. Let's see, he released the oil reserves. They have an issue with it. He tries to help students. They have an issue with it. So what exactly is the GOP doing? Because they don't want to help anybody. They don't have like a positive plan to get us out of the shit we're in. They don't have a positive plan to deal with COVID. I mean, they're just going on hate. That is exactly their platform, is a platform of hate. Hate black people, hate Puerto Rican people, hate anybody who's different, and that's it. I mean, I haven't seen one GOP senator come over and say, okay, well, healthcare is too high, let's try to lower it, or prescriptions are too high.
Okay, fair enough. It's not that I disagree with everything you're saying, because I am a liberal, so some of the things you're saying certainly resonates with me. But I gotta push back. Now, when you say that Republicans do not have a plan, their plan is to be tougher on crime. Their plan is to actually address the inflow of immigrants coming across the border by the millions at this point. They do have a plan. We may not agree with it, but they absolutely do have a plan for a host of other issues.
Right, but with some of that stuff that you're saying, doesn't affect the average American. Okay, let's say immigration. No immigrant comes over here to steal any jobs because most of those jobs that those immigrants do are jobs that pay shit. Do you
Yeah.
honestly think? Do you honestly think, right, that a white American or a black American or a Puerto Rican American is going to clean a toilet or a toilet or pick fruit in a freaking farm for fucking pennies a day? No,
No. George Bush said the same thing. I agree with
you
you.
know.
George W. Bush said the exact same thing. What about the idea that the Republican Party believes they are saving the lives of the unborn by rolling back abortion rights? What do you do with that? They believe they believe they are preventing murder from being committed.
I don't know about all that. I mean, for me, you know something. For me, the abortion debate is really not about abortion. It is about the browning of America. And I'm not trying to sound racist, but what they want to do is they want to have more white babies because they know that their base is shrinking constantly.
Yeah. I've said something similar on the program. I'm oftentimes playing devil's advocate, but I do believe there's some validity to that. But I had to ask that question. But let's go with the LGBT issue. What about the idea that they're promoting sexuality on elementary school children? They're finding books that reportedly are illustrating to high schoolers about oral sex and things like that. And they believe that they are literally pushing an LGBT agenda on kids in school. How do you take that for parents who state that I don't want my child being taught LGBT issues? How do you respond to somebody that's saying that?
I don't know because my kids are in school and they're not being taught anything sexual. I don't know what school system would. I mean, I know that there's rumors, and that's what they are. Nobody's coming up with like a basic fact to say, oh, well, the school system in Cincinnati, Ohio, is teaching preschoolers about oral sex and this and that. I mean, come up with proof, and I don't agree with that. Seriously, I
Right.
don't agree with you trying. As a father, not as a liberal, but as a father, I don't agree with you teaching my 5 or 10 year old uh, anything about sex. That's my job. That's his mother's
Yeah.
job. You know,
Yeah.
leave it to me. That's not a government. That's not a government or a school system job. That's mine and my wife, and that's it.
Okay. All right. Fair point. I guess I don't think you and I are that far apart, but I do have to present the other side because these are things I hear, and folks vote based on what they perceive as reality, and that is their reality. So I wanted to present that to you. But I do got to move it on, White Rose. Very good conversation. Always a pleasure talking to you, man.
All right, brother, take it easy.
Good talk. All right. Going back in the comments, Dems have turned America into a banana republic. Trigger, I'd love to have you elaborate. What do you mean a banana republic? I don't know, because 8 years of Obama, America wasn't that bad off. I don't see it. But let me know what you mean when you say banana republic. Probably the LGBT CRT issues that I just discussed with him. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. MAGA is pushing falsehoods, says Don Hedrick. True, but the liberals do the same thing. That's called politics. Telling lies about the other side to promote your own agenda. Thank you for that. At Mustache Daily 20. Appreciate that. Much love to you. I appreciate your calm approach, if I can get the words out. Hilltop Gal, thank you. Appreciate the comment. Glad to have you watching. Folks, feel free to follow the program. I'm generally here at 7 p.m. Central. Always make it clear it's a MAGA-friendly audience. I'll go right back to the box. I always make the same solemn promise on every broadcast. I won't ban, I don't block, I don't censor folks for their opinion. The fact that you disagree with the host never means a damn thing here. I might challenge you here or there, but you always get plenty of time to state your point, regardless if it is in concert with mine or not. That doesn't matter. Ohio Trucker, 42 William, friend of the program again.
What's
Ohio,
going on?
good afternoon. Not much at all. We're talking about the midterms. What is your biggest concerns when you're casting your ballot in 18 days or so? And I asked the other question also: are there politicians out there that you believe must be prevented from taking office at all costs because they are just simply bad for America?
Yeah, it's Fetterman. But then again, I don't live in Pennsylvania, though.
I'm assuming you're talking about Dr. Oz.
He has, to me, it's just a better thing for me. I sat and thought about it, and I listened and stuff. And Fetterman just sounds like Biden to me, you know? Kind of like more gas and stuff. We need something solid. And that's just my opinion. Well,
But what about Dr. Oz, though? Do you feel Dr. Oz is a true Pennsylvanian? Because I'm hearing a lot of folks suggest that he moved to the area just strictly to run. Do you feel like obviously you don't like Fetterman. That's fair enough. But do you feel Dr. Oz is the right fit for that position?
well, he might not be a true Pennsylvanian, but then again,
Is he a patriot?
I'm sorry.
Is he a patriot?
Well, that
Take your time. You're not sounding good.
I'm kind of like, I'm half and half because he turned around. Well, nothing against foreigners and stuff like that. It's just like when he gets in the office, he'll sit there and claim that he's Turkish. Well, we need Americans, right or left. We need solid Americans because we know our country. But when he turned around,
so you're essentially suggesting that Dr. Oz is literally the best choice between a rock and a hard place.
Most likely so.
What about the African American? What about the African American woman that was MAGA and she ran against Dr. Oz and Dr. Oz got the Trump endorsement? What was her name out there?
I don't know.
You didn't. It was an African American woman that was MAGA. She was an election challenger as well, and she ran for that same position that Trump went with Dr. Oz for. I cannot think of her name. Somebody in the audience, let me know.
I can't remember her name though, but I heard I was going to vote. Well, if I was Pennsylvania, I'll vote for her. Not because she's African American though, but I think she was more solid.
Okay.
You know. But like I live in Ohio, we got Tim Ryan and Tim Vance.
Now Tim Ryan was the one that was on Hillary Clinton's ticket for president, right?
I believe so.
So I'm assuming you're not a big Tim Ryan fan at all, then, right?
No, I'm not because of Hillary Clinton. I'm just like, this is Ohio. We need a fighter. But when he turned the race card gets to me. When people are calling me racist because I'm a Republican, that comes close to heart to me. My kid, he's American, half American Indian too. So it bugs me.
Let me ask you that. Since you brought that up, why? And you can give me your opinion. It doesn't matter what you say. I'm gonna let you say it, but. Why do you believe so many folks automatically assume that Republicans are racist or throw the word racism around in regards to Republicans so much? Why do you believe that even happens?
Because majority, honestly, I think it's kind of like a defense. If they have nothing else to come up with, it's just they'll just throw the race card up. It's like that ever since for the past 2 years. At first, I kind of understand, but now it's just getting to me.
Okay, but they don't throw it at Democrats. I don't know, because that's what I'm trying. Even folks who do not vote, people who do not get involved with politics at all, they still seem to only throw that at Republicans. They don't throw it. I mean, like you don't hear a large group of people referring to Nancy Pelosi as a racist. Even Joe Biden, vote for me or you ain't black. I don't want my kids growing up in a racial jungle. Even African Americans and minorities that do not vote at all still lean toward the Republican Party where they're flinging around racism claims. Why is that?
I honestly don't know. I mean, what Biden said to me, it should never have been said. Period. Because
What do you say?
what Biden started, I believe, when he said the racial jungle. Then people start following race. It's redundant anymore.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question off the side?
Sure, go ahead.
The past three callers mentioned about the summer of love. Well, I saw a documentary. I don't know if it was. See, I was born in 1980, so really, I just seen it just recently over the summer, and I watched it about 2 or 3 times. The summer of love to me kind of feels like what happened out in Philadelphia when they
How so?
I can't remember if it was the Black Panthers, or if I get that wrong, I apologize. But there was like a group of people in the row houses wouldn't let people out, deny people food. And at the time, there was a Republican mayor that went in and started, shooting people up. Got the machine and started bulldozing things down so they can clean up the area. Get them arrested for food. Do you remember that?
No, and I was about to say that I can't speak on what you're talking about because I am completely clueless on this stuff. I don't know anything about the summer of love, for instance. Yeah, I don't know anything about any of this. So this is an area where I'm a plead complete ignorance. I just don't know anything about it.
That's okay. I mean, not everybody knows everything, but okay, I'll switch that. I worked with Puerto Ricans. I've worked with Mexicans. I worked with other people too, at a landscaping company. We all got paid $7.50 an hour for doing $15 an hour work.
So, as a Republican, does it concern you that your party continues to fight for a minimum wage increase, which is what you're talking about, being underpaid?
No, I think it was more like slavery for all of us, getting paid $7.50 an hour for everybody.
All right, I wasn't expecting that, but look, I gotta move it on, man. Go ahead.
I was just being honest.
Yeah, fair enough, and there's nothing wrong with that. But appreciate you coming through, Ohio. I gotta move it on. Come on back through anytime.
Have a nice day.
You too. All right, looking in the comments. So you're not because you made the same amount as people of color. That's an interesting point you brought up there. And I'll go right back to the box. Beck 8310. That's usually the counter to the belief that white privilege is non-existent. Well, I've went through the same hardships as anybody else. I was raised poor or whatever the case may be. How am I privileged? And my general argument is this. Even if you're homeless, let's say you're white and homeless, and across the street, there's a black homeless guy. At night, both of you guys sleep in the vestibule of some business that's closed. You sleep right up against the doorstep on a porch of a business over here and a porch of a business over there. And for some reason, in the middle of the night, the police always show up and make the black guy move on. And the white, you can be homeless and privileged is the point I'm trying to make. Just because you are poor doesn't mean you're not privileged. Now, if you want to argue white privilege doesn't exist, we can always talk about that. But the point I'm trying to make is privilege and poverty don't always go hand in hand. You can be impoverished, completely broke, and still have privilege. Because a lot of folks don't like dealing with homeless. They shoo them on. They sometimes will arrest them and things like that. And if they're treating you differently than another homeless guy that looks different, then you have some privilege. Even though you're completely broke, you can walk through a neighborhood, you can panhandle, you can beg for money, and they're not handing you loitering tickets. But you're still flat broke, so don't ever think that money has anything to do with privilege. Gridon 13. Program, I believe, first time calling. Nevertheless, you're welcome. Am I pronouncing that right? Gridon? Girl Don. Good afternoon.
Hi.
You've been listening, and I take it. What's on your mind this afternoon?
So I just wanted to talk about two things. First, everyone's saying that the president doesn't control the DC National Guard. A simple Google search of who controls it tells you straight away that the president controls the National
Yeah.
DC Guard. And the governors
I'll go one step further. I'll let you continue, but I'll go one step further because that comes up all the time. That it was Nancy Pelosi's job. I had a caller on the program who actually called the National Guard's office in D.C. and had a guy come on the phone in that office and said it, that the president is responsible for deploying us. So yeah, I've heard totally different. I've heard exactly what you're saying, but go ahead.
And also they were saying that like the president can't go to the Capitol. Well, she called for help. She called multiple times, multiple cities, multiple states to try and get National Guard to come because the president did not. And so for that alone, he does not care about our country, in my opinion. But
and that's on video. That's on video of her trying to make those calls. I saw that.
Right. And because she couldn't get help from DC, she went to the mayor from the president in the National Guard. She went to the mayor of DC to get the city cops. She went to Maryland to try and get Maryland's National Guard. She trying to get help the whole time, including Mitch and Kevin came over, and they all were calling governors and mayors in cities around them to try and get help to come. So,
but what about the notion that she should have done that proactively? Why wait to the point where the building is under siege and you're hiding out in some room? Why didn't you do this to begin with? How do you respond to that?
Because she can't call the National Guard up. She can put a request in, but she does not have the authority to say the National Guard needs to be there. Which when you see those images of when there was a BLM protest happening and they were all over the steps of the Capitol, wonder why they were over those steps. Guess who called and sent them there?
It's Trump.
Exactly. So,
I let the people speak. I let the folks speak. So I'm totally aware of what you're saying, but I always let the folks speak.
Okay. And then the other thing is I would like to rebuttal you when you were being devil's advocate for all the Republican things. So for instance, open borders. We're under the same laws that were in place when Trump was in office. Biden did try to make changes, and the Supreme Court said that he couldn't make changes. So right now, if you consider the border open, it's been open for the last 6 years because we're under Trump's rules. On top of
is Biden still separating kids at the border and all of that?
Biden, no. He was putting kids
back. So that's
to
not a Trump rule then. That's different than what Trump was doing. Biden flew immigrants to a lot of cities up north. That's not something Trump would have done.
Right, but he flew them to relieve the cities that are border cities because they are being overflown. But we are a country of immigrants. We take in immigrants. That's what we do. Most of us wouldn't even be here if we didn't take in.
Yeah, I agree with that. But the point I'm trying to make is that Biden is more immigrant friendly than Trump. I don't think that's up for debate. Trump, but the people you're talking
is built on that. Our country is built on the only person or people, I guess, are Republicans are using that to scare Republicans to vote for them. We have never stopped accepting immigrants here. Migrants, people leaving countries that we've destroyed, if you want to be real honest about it.
Yeah, but what happens if you accept immigrants? Like you said, our country was founded on it. But what do you do if it gets to the point where so many people are coming, it's changing the foundation of the nation? Do you still keep accepting them?
What do you mean by the foundation of the nation?
I mean, to the point where it's starting to tax resources, like in New York right now. They're complaining just from the immigrants being sent to their town that it's overwhelming them. And they're not dealing with anywhere near the immigrant influxes, Texas or Arizona. And they're already complaining that city is starting to have its resources taxed from too many immigrants coming.
because they're getting them shipped there when that's not where they should be going. They should be going to places that are set up to receive them, set them up with housing, set them up with jobs. It wouldn't be taxing, which is what everyone says Biden moving them in the middle of the night. Maybe he did move them in the middle of the night, but he moved them to places that had the resources to help them, to put them to work, to give them housing.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is even the places that you're suggesting that are set up that way, everything is finite. Nothing is infinite. So because according to the numbers now, they're saying since Biden has been in office, 2 million folks have crossed the border. I don't know if it's true or not, but they're going way up in the numbers. At some point, even the places that are set up to handle it can be overrun, right?
Well, no, because most immigrants that come here are looking for a better life and don't stay on social services. They actually come here. They have to get a job within a certain amount of time. They have to start working. Yes, it may be taxing right at the beginning and because it's being done wrong, but it's a benefit to our economic status.
Yeah, but even if let's say everything goes exactly how you're talking, millions are coming, but they get jobs and all of this stuff. It's still going to ultimately lead to overcrowding in some areas, housing costs going up in other areas, language barriers. Because I mean, there are neighborhoods right now in America where English is like a second language. You don't see any of this change in the country where the folks on the right may have a decent point in suggesting you're changing the foundation of the country?
We've always been like that. Almost every major city, like San Francisco, New York, they all have Little Italy. All those neighborhoods talk Italian to each other. They have the Irish areas, they have Chinese areas, Japantown. We have always been like that. It's
a really good answer. That's a really good. I had to challenge you though. I like that answer. That's a really good answer.
My family is from Italy. My grandfather and grandmother are from Italy. My mom was born in the U.S. They spoke Italian, lived with all Italians, everything.
Yeah.
Cool because.
And you know something, and I would also add that when folks are talking about the issues with MS-13, the mob, which your family probably knows at least something about, the mob was no different than MS-13. They were doing some of the same horrible shit. So I appreciate you coming. I got to move it on, but good talk, by the way. Is this our first time talking?
This was our first time. I watched you a lot, but I'll jump in because I don't feel like that other guy represented us well when debating Republican stances. Their stance is to scare.
Okay, you broke up. Are you there? Okay, apparently she broke. Very good talk, though. I don't know what happened to the signal there, but you're always welcome back. That was a good talk. You didn't think you were ready to present it. You certainly came with your A game today. That was a good talk. Looking in the comments, you're in a legal to do. You need to go back where you came from. You're in a legal to do. Your grammar is kind of off there, Cornstar, but when you start talking about go back where you came from, folks are going to throw the R word with that one. Hey, caller, they don't pay taxes. Chicago Sox, love the name. In regards to illegal immigrants not paying taxes, I don't know if that's the case. Because anything you buy in America has taxes on it. And oftentimes when they get jobs let's say you are an illegal and you use a fake social security card or fake ID to get a job, which often happens. You're working under an assumed name, and they are taking taxes out of your check in regards to an assumed name. At the end of the year, when you and I are filing income tax, they can't file that. So all of the taxes that was taken out of their check, they don't get any benefits from that, because if they ever get caught, they can be deported at any given time. The argument that I've been contributing 20% of my money to roads and bridges and you're going to deport me is meaningless. So the idea that they don't pay taxes, I don't know if I totally agree with that, because like I said, if you steal a social security number and you work under that, they're taking income tax money they're taking all of those taxes, FICA, all of that shit out of your check, and you don't get any benefit from that. because it ain't your name. So at the end of the year, you can't claim any damn thing. Going back to the box, Reasonable Righty, welcome back to the from you, Reasonable Righty. What's on your mind this afternoon?
How's it going? I was gonna say good morning, but I'm over here in Pacific time zone. Well, Mountain.
Okay.
There.
I'm in Central, 38 minutes past afternoon over here, but nevertheless, good to talk
10:30.
to you. What's up?
Hope you're having a good day. I've been listening off and on as I get my day going here. I don't know if I think your main topic was midterms, but there was a lot of
I'll go ahead and give you my spiel on it. The midterms, I'm concerned. I'm asking the folks, you included, what is your primary issues you're voting on? Whether it's immigration, inflation, crime, and the following question: are there politicians that you believe should be prevented from taking office at all costs because they are just simply bad for America? That's the two questions I'm presenting.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm one of those voters that actually looks at what's on the ballot. And a lot of people here think that they're doing some kind of national election this midterm. They're going to look at their Senate race. And usually they're going to vote partisan, and then every single thing else in that ballot box, they're going to go, "Oh, I heard that name. That sounds good," or "Oh, that initiative sounds good." They did zero research on the things that are actually going to affect their lives.
That does happen. That does happen all the time.
Here in Arizona, for me, it's I got a governor race, and I'm going to be going with Kari Lake. Not a fan of Hobbs, and besides that, Kari Lake is smoking hot. So, we just got to vote like a regular American and just go based on looks.
What was Kari Lake involved in? It was really controversial just recently. I know the name. I know I've talked about her out in Arizona. What was she? Because your state is up for grabs. Your state is pretty close, right, for the Senate race?
Yeah.
What was she just involved in? Something was it a debate or something she did because it's been making the national news. I'd have to remember, but all right, continue. So what about politicians that you believe absolutely should be prevented from taking office because they're just bad for America? Do you know anyone like that? Any politicians you've seen that you believe they're just bad for this country?
Well, I don't have a say on the other 49 states. Do you want me to speak on my own state or just in general?
You can speak on the other 49 states. I'm not a fan of Herschel Walker at all. He cannot be trusted. He is completely dishonest. He's lying about being a cop. He's a woman beater. All kinds of shit. And I don't live in Georgia.
You know what? For me, I'm pro-choice. I don't care if you're pro-life or pro-choice, but if you're going to put your beliefs into the political system, you have to live them. That's all I can say about that.
Excellent point.
It doesn't matter what. You have to live by the convictions that you're putting out to affect our lives.
Practice what you preach. And in the comments, real quick, Dennis Korb, you asked, was Herschel was an officer? No, but he lied and said he said he was an FBI agent and was trained at Quantico and all kinds of bullshit. And the FBI cleared up like, no, this dude ain't never worked for us. You got to have a bachelor's degree to be an FBI agent. And he does not even have the education credentials to even apply. So, right. Yeah, he wasn't an officer. Herschel Walker, to me, the amount of dishonesty from one man over facts that can easily be researched is astonishing. Now, I understand all politicians lie. That's fine. But if I get on here and lie and tell you I'm a black man, or I'm a white man, rather, you can easily prove that that's bullshit. Herschel Walker is lying about things that you can easily Google and prove.
Yeah, it's insane, but you know what? I'm not giving them a pass, but I think a lot of politicians, I think they know they can just say whatever the hell they want because they know how dumb most people are. You know what I mean? So they just take it so far.
I agree to a point. Like if Hillary Clinton says she was in Afghanistan dodging bullets, you might be to get away with that because maybe no cameras were by or something like that. But if you say you graduated from a prestigious university it's pretty easy to prove whether you
Well,
graduated or
well,
not.
what if he considers the community college prestigious? That's the thing. It's semantics.
Well, it doesn't matter if the school's procedures. If you say you graduated from somewhere, it's pretty easy for people to check and make sure you graduated. That's
Right.
almost impossible to lie about. And he lied and said he didn't just say he graduated. He said he graduated in the top 1% of his class when he never graduated at all. I mean, like, what the hell?
What?
So I don't know. Herschel Walker is on some bullshit.
Yeah, I think they get pretty senile once they get up to that level. But what a thought just came across my orbit. I think the main takeaway from this election and every election, like here for me, it's between Mark Kelly and Blake Masters. I'm like, shit, those are my two choices. That's awesome, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people are going to be upset about the only two choices they have, or they're going to be upset about the stuff. Ask them where they were 4 or 5 months ago. They did not participate in their primaries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I will tell you when I'm talking to some of my MAGA folks out there is that I think what you suggested, where people are not happy with either choice, some of that has to do with MAGA. And the reason I'm saying that on the Republican side is because Trump has promoted some candidates that MAGA themselves are not happy with. Dr. Oz is a perfect example. Whereas MAGA in that area, Trump supporters in that area believes he endorsed the wrong candidate. My guess is Herschel Walker might be another one where folks down in Georgia who are total diehard MAGA are like, why the hell did Trump get behind this guy? He got behind the wrong dude. Dr. Oz, yeah, I mentioned it before, the African-American woman that got primaried by Dr. Oz simply because Trump picked Dr. Oz. MAGA was for her. And it's like you went with Dr. Oz. So, yeah, to some degree, what you're talking about, folks not being happy with their two choices, Trump has something to do with that on the right side of the aisle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think regardless, the major political powers are going to affect these smaller elections like Senate races and Congress races and stuff like that. But my whole point is, if you cannot say, "Hey, I voted in my primaries," then you can't be upset at the only two choices
True.
I'm not saying
I
your
agree
one
with that.
vote was going to change the entire thing, but you can't just sit back and let the political process unfold in front of you and then be upset at the
Yeah.
results when you participate, you know?
Well, I complain to people of color about that all the time is that, when the white men don't care about us and they don't give a shit about our neighborhoods. And I tell them all the time, the purpose of a politician is to cater to his constituents. If you're not voting, you're of no concern to him, which is one reason why I am a huge fan of what Trump has done. Even though I'm not necessarily a MAGA or a Trump supporter, I like the fact that Trump has gotten so many people interested in politics, whether they are in favor of him or against him. He's brought a hell of a lot more people to the political sphere just out of love or hate for him himself. Once Trump is out of the picture, my guess is, Cornstar, appreciate the hat and mustache. Once Trump is out of the picture, my guess is participation, particularly in midterms, will drop again. But he has made voting very interesting. So shout out to him for doing that.
Yeah, Obama did the same thing. I think the numbers were historic about how many, whatever the age group was, 18 to 24 or whatever that registered to vote. It was like the most ever. And I mean, obviously with the population growing, it's a natural thing, but I'm just saying that was a historic thing they did. And so, yeah, good. Get people involved in the political process. If you don't mind me segueing to one side, because I know you want to move the show on. If you don't mind me segueing to here.
Sure.
We're talking about the National Guard and stuff. I know the people who disagree with me in the chat here, I can bet you $100 none of them are going to go to factcheck.org, website I got pulled up right in front of my face, and verify the information I'm saying. They're just going to go with whatever they had in their mind.
What you got? Give me what you got.
You would agree that General Mark Milley is not exactly a Trump fan, correct?
Because of Trump's antics, yes.
Okay, so right
Trump
here,
said a lot of horrible shit about him.
Obviously, I'm only picking out one paragraph out of many here, but it says right here, Miller and General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, met with Trump, according to the Department of Defense. Trump agrees to activate the DC National Guard to support DC police. And then it does say in parentheses, not Capitol Police. Whether or not that was a specific exclusion, I don't know, but that's what it says. To help with crowd control and traffic control. The Pentagon later tells ProPublica the president had no role in tactical matters as the capabilities deployed and location were dictated solely by the request from the DC government.
Wait a minute. You said Trump was trying to enact the National Guard for the Capitol Police, to assist the Capitol Police. Is that what you're saying?
I can't speak to that because it doesn't say because it says DC National Guard to support DC police. And then in quotes, it says not Capitol Police. It doesn't say whether he specifically excluded them or it just happened to not include them or whatever. I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't know. I'm just reading what it says.
But it does not seem to say what my other caller, Harris, said, whereas he suggested that if the Capitol building was being overran and Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or some of them did not call in the National Guard, he suggested there would be nothing Trump could do because it's not his job. What you're suggesting is that Trump actually did have the power to call in the National Guard. What you're saying, it goes against what a lot of my other MAGA folks suggest, which is that Trump could not call in the National Guard. Your statement doesn't seem to go in that same direction.
And so what it says here is this is the timeline of events, right? So this is for January 3rd, okay? So, yeah, January 3rd, Trump activates the DC National Guard to support DC police.
So he actually does have power to activate the National Guard.
Yep. What I was reading per the DC National Guard.mil website, the president has the sole authority and it's delegated to the Secretary of Defense and one other person. I forgot who, but so that, it's not just solely him. The authority is delegated to Secretary of Defense. But
the idea that he could not do anything at all seems to be wrong, according to what you're saying.
No, he activated them, so his role.
No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is a lot of MAGA are saying that Trump had no authority to activate National Guard at all. He has no authority to do that. What you're saying is he does.
Yeah, I don't speak for. And people who say President, but what I'm saying here is people who say President Trump did nothing. Says right here on the 3rd, he activated them, and then it further goes on to say the president has no role in tactical matters as the capabilities deployed and location were dictated solely by the request from the DC government. And all I'm saying here is, the guy, he did activate them, but let's say January 6th, he did step in and get involved in the tactical matters of the National Guard. You know how many people on the left would say he's using the military to throw a coup or overthrow democracy?
Yeah.
You know they would.
Yeah, I get that. And that's going to happen, though. But at the end of the day, I would submit to you that if any president invited protesters to D.C., and they behaved in the way MAGA did on January 6th, they would accuse that president of doing that. And Trump would be right in line accusing Obama or Biden or any other president for the actions of his protesters if they behaved that way. So for some reason, when Trump did it, all of us, I told him to go peacefully. But if this same situation happened under another president, Trump would be leading the charge, blaming that president for what took place.
Fair enough. I don't disagree with the politics out there, but I'm just saying people don't do any research and they don't look how Maxine Waters had an hour-long phone call with Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund to express her grave concerns. Right, this would be December 31st. Okay, so the calls were made to have these people there. We can figure out why they weren't there, but the calls were made. So
how do you explain the gap in time, several hours, I believe it was, when this was happening, where Trump did not go on television, did not tweet anything out, did not ask folks to back down, and had to literally be begged by members of his own administration to go out there and give a statement? How do you respond to that? I mean, what was going on with that?
I'm not 100% justifying his actions, but what I will say is if you do think that the process of democracy has been stripped from, you're the sitting president, and so I'm going to say you, even though it's the American people. If you think that has been stripped from you, are you going to take the one last measure available and call it off?
Well, if I am in office and I believe I got cheated out of office, and like you said, the process of democracy has been stripped from me, am I going to choose to let the country burn as a result? I mean, yeah, they cheated me but in regards to what's in the best interest of the country, let's do it this way and handle it in court or handle it a different way. You don't just let the country burn, which is exactly what Al Gore said, is that he truly believed that he was cheated with the hanging chads and things like that. But for what was in the best interest of the country, he decided to back down. I mean, you don't let them destroy our nation's capital and potentially take out all of Congress and the Senate because you feel you got cheated. Is that what you're suggesting?
First, I think Al Gore was more interested in rubbing lotion all over his skin and doing Green New Deals. He didn't really want to be president, But
I can't speak on that.
no, yeah, that I didn't really mean to say last measure, because yes, the last measure would be through the court, right? I'm just saying, I don't think the idea that he didn't tweet out, "Hey, stop," is like is the big controversy here. I think the big controversy.
Wait a minute. Wait, your country is breaking apart down the seams. America on television, global television, so everybody around the world can see that America is coming apart. And you're telling me the president not saying anything for several hours is not a big issue?
I think, and people, it depends on which side you're looking at, right? But I think
Inside.
people standing up and saying, we're not going to accept this from our politicians, is a.
Let's take what you're saying. People say we're not going to accept the theft of democracy and things like that from our politicians. Based on what? Have you heard the Steve Bannon leaked audio? I played it on my program last night where audio was leaked from Steve Bannon on October 31st, 2020, 5 days before the election, where he stated Trump is going to say he won, whether he won or not. And if Biden is winning, Trump is going to deliberately start acting a fool and say the election was stolen, which makes it and by the way, Steve Bannon was Trump's election strategist. So he's the one that helps him plan the strategy. And Steve Bannon said that is our strategy, is to say he won whether he won or not. So when you say democracy being stolen, I have to push back and ask, do you think that Trump really believed that the election was stolen from him? Or was that his plan all along, is that either I'm going to win or I'm going to say they stole it?
I don't know. That's hard to say because I'm not a Steve Bannon fan myself. But since all we do these days is whataboutisms, what about Hillary for the last 4 years talking about the election stolen from her?
And you guys have been tearing Hillary Clinton a new one the whole time. You haven't let her for what you did.
There's not constant lives on TikTok about Hillary right now. And I understand there's a little
every Trump rally, lock her up is yelled out, and you guys criticize. I mean, long after Hillary Clinton was no longer running for office, Trump still continues to attack her. So you said, what about Hillary? I'm saying that the Republicans continue attacking Hillary Clinton to this day. If you go to the next Trump rally, I guarantee you people will be wearing anti-Hillary clothing and lock her up will be yelled out at that rally. They're still attacking Hillary. They didn't let her off the hook.
Yeah, but by your logic, you should be calling out Hillary for saying the election was stolen.
She's not still saying that. She's not still going around. Huh?
I mean, she might not be tweeting it today, but she didn't stop saying it 5 years ago.
Well, Al Gore still says the election was stolen from him too, but he's not going around holding rallies based on it. He's not getting involved in U.S. politics, trying to elect senators and governors that believe the election was stolen from Al Gore. I get the point you're making. I'm just simply saying that whatever you're accusing Hillary Clinton or Al Gore of, Trump has took that to an exponential level. He is doing exactly the stuff you're accusing him of, times about 100. So even though you may be right to some degree about them, they're not going to get viewed the same way because Trump is all over the place doing this stuff at multiples of what Hillary Clinton and Al Gore could ever dream of.
Right, and there's a difference because he's still very active in politics right now
Yeah,
versus them. I'll give it that. But
yeah.
the idea that if that is truly how you feel, you wouldn't be speaking on it. I mean, let's
Yeah, but
say
what can we do to dig up Al Gore in 2022 or even Hillary Clinton at this point? She's 6 years withdrawn from politics. I mean, you could be right, but that's old news at this point. I mean, you want to talk about Al Gore and how he's still saying the 2000 election was stolen from him 22 years ago? I mean, it would not interest anyone at this point.
right. Yeah, this is all fresh stuff. So obviously it's
Yeah.
going to be the thing that,
Yeah.
everyone's talking
We
about.
won't be talking about Trump in 2032. We won't be talking about his stolen
Yeah,
election claims
will.
20 years
Hey,
from now.
I'm going to come find you in 2032. You're still going to be talking about Trump.
Now, if Trump shows up on stage with a cane and is mustering out Hillary Clinton, and all that shit in 2030, yeah, we'll still be talking about him. But Hillary Clinton and Al Gore have pretty much disappeared from politics. That's why they're not being talked about. When Trump disappears from politics, nobody will be talking about him anywhere near to this level. But right now, like you said, if put it this way, if we have a red wave in 18 days, who's going to be taking credit for that all over the country?
And he will
I
have
mean,
credit.
yeah, he's going to be taking credit for that. So that is why he keeps getting talked about, is because he keeps talking.
And we will, just like how you've spoken about how many people who probably voted for Trump in 2016 probably did not vote for him in 2020, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people in the moderate to somewhat left range that might not be out there speaking about it, but they know the state of the country is not
Yeah, but they're
doing
not
well.
going to vote for. I agree with that.
And
There's a hell of a lot of liberals that are
they're
not
going to
big
vote
fans
for.
of.
I'm not saying they're going to vote for Blake Masters or Kerry Lake. Okay, I'm not saying that.
And
But
that's my point. That's my point is that I will tell you, and I tell this to MAGA all the time. Right now, with Biden's poll numbers, the economy, you guys have the liberals right where you want them. The only mistake you're making is you're sending this guy back out there. If you could somehow silence Trump and get him out of politics, you guys will do a hell of a lot better, because that is literally the only thing liberals are pushing in a lot of areas, other than Roe versus Wade, is that you can deal with us or you can deal with Trump. Like the old Black Sheep song. You can get with this or you can get with that. So
right,
as long as you guys keep sending Trump back, the liberals will always have hope in some areas, because inflation, LGBT issues, CRT, and none of that stuff is scaring some folks as much as seeing a sea of red hats out there. I got to move it on, reasonable, but I'll give you the last word.
I don't really have a last word. We had a good chat. Appreciate you having me on. Are you going to be on tonight? I haven't seen your lives being broadcast in the evenings. Have you just not been on, or is there
I
weird?
was on last, yeah, TikTok, and they kind of flaky at times. I talked about Mr. Jones having to pay $1 billion in court settlements, and they banned me for a week for talking about Jones. So that's why you hadn't seen me on. I was off because of Mr. Jones. But yeah, I'll be on tonight.
Okay, we'll catch you later, man. Have a good day.
Absolutely. Good talk. And by the way, folks, appreciate those who are channel, and for those who are new to the broadcast, yeah, 7 p.m. Central is generally when I'm on here from my little makeshift studio, and it's a lot better than the car because I can, have a monitor behind me and things like that, so I can better illustrate a lot of the points I'm trying to make. Like with the last caller, we were talking about the leaked audio of Steve Bannon. There's a clip, and I often let folks hear that, where Steve Bannon was clearly stating that Trump is on election night. Trump is going to suggest he won whether he has actually won or not. And Steve Bannon followed up by saying around 10 or 11 o'clock on election night, if Biden is in the lead, Trump is going to say the election was stolen, and he's going to threaten to fire, I believe it was the head of the FBI or whatever. He named the official that Trump was going to suggest he was going to fire, and that he was going to call for an official recount. Steve Bannon was calling all of these steps out October 31st, 2020, 5 days before the election. He literally itemized everything that Trump ultimately did before getting elected. MAGA's only defense is that Steve Bannon can't be trusted. Not that what he said wasn't true, but that he could not be trusted. Unless that guy is Madame Cleo or some form of a fortune teller, the question has to be asked. How is it that your campaign strategist, the guy who was designed to deal with the strategy of your campaign, able to accurately predict your claims of election fraud 5 days before the election ever took place? I don't give a shit how you feel about Trump. You might think the economy was great under Trump. He projected strength worldwide. Everything you like about Trump, that's fine. But how do you explain that? How do you explain this guy being able to so accurately predict what Trump was going to do 5 days ahead of time? There was no way to know the election was stolen 5 days ahead. How could he itemize that so perfectly 5 days ahead of time? If you don't want to tackle that, then you're obviously biased. As always, folks, I appreciate you rolling with me. I am on lunch break, so I do have to end the live 7 p.m. Central. I implore you to follow the broadcast. I always make the same solemn promise on every broadcast. I don't ban, I don't block, I do not censor. Give you plenty of time in the box to talk, to state your point. The fact that you may or disagree with the guest, or with the host rather, means not a damn thing. You come on, you don't have to agree with me. It's not about that. It's about being able to reach across the aisle on my little tiny corner of social media and have civil discourse with the other side without all the name calling, without all the bullshit, and simply talk about the points. I'll catch you guys tonight at 7. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Follow the program. Catch you later.